Hey everybody, it's me, Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie. On this episode of CD Junkie, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite mod bands from the late 70s and early 80s. I'm talking about a band called Squire. Now, the Jam had sort of kickstarted this mod revival scene. The great thing about it is every band was different. I mean, the chords were the closest you were going to get to something that sounds like the Jam, but you're talking about the Lambrettas and Secret Affair and Purple Hearts, bands like that. But one of my absolute favorites was the band called Squire. They were a trio. And when they first started out, it was singer, songwriter, guitar player Anthony Meynell, his brother Kevin Meynell on drums, and a bass player by the name of Enzo Esposito. And initially, Anthony had been writing songs at home and recording them on demos. And Squire, I believe, at the very beginning were a four-piece. But a lot of his recordings were recorded in the bedroom, I think, with his brother Kevin. And they didn't make a debut single until 1979 when they released the single Get Ready to Go, which a fantastic, energetic, almost punk-like song. Now, that single Get Ready to Go was just a great song that, introduced this great band that continued to release records over the next couple of years. Now, the first CD I'm going to show you is one of the latest ones released, but the reason I'm showing it to you is because it actually contains their earliest recordings. And the compilation ends with their first single, which is called Get Ready to Go, and that's the title of the CD. A great collection of pop songs. Get Ready to Go, like I said, just this really punky energy. Sometimes I describe the mod scene as power pop with British accents. But that's kind of not fair because there's a lot of great British power pop bands. But I'd say that Squire were the closest to power pop in terms of song structure and, just a very simplistic guitar, bass, drum, great hooks, melodies, and all that kind of stuff. This one here has a little punkier energy because it is their early recordings. They were inspired by the 60s, like the Beatles, the Kinks, and the Who, but they were also inspired by punk's raw energy. And Get Ready to Go is a great collection of early tracks. Now, the only song I think from this whole batch that was officially released was Get Ready to Go, which is the final track on the compilation, and really, really a wonderful collection. Now, they released several singles after that: Face of Youth Today, Walking Down the King's Road, My Mind Goes Round in Circles, but they didn't put out an album until 1981 when they released Hits from 3,000 Years Ago. And this is the CD cover. I believe this is a reissue cover. I'm going to show you the original cover up there in the corner. That's the album that I bought when it came out. Now, it was an independent UK label, was not released in the US. So, of course, we had to wait for the imports. But it was a great collection of pop songs. Just guitar pop, jangly. Like I said, it still had that punky edge to it, but the band was maturing, and they were definitely settling into their own sound. And Hits from 3,000 Years Ago, and it was actually released under the name Anthony Meynell and Squire, and that is the CD. Now, the following year, they put out a Squire fan club album called Something Old, Something New, Something Borrowed. And this contains more unreleased recordings and lots of great tracks on here. Just super snappy pop songs that, most bands would just kill for. And Anthony Meynell just seemed to be able to write them on a whim. So many great songs on it. But by this time, Enzo Esposito had left the band, and he was replaced by a bass player by the name of Jon Bicknell. And the first single that John was on, I believe, was Girl on a Train. And then he played on, I believe, No Time Tomorrow. Although I think only Kevin and Anthony are featured on the cover to that. But there's also a single called Jessamine. And then in 1983, they put out, in my opinion, their masterpiece. It is called Get Smart. It is such an incredible album, so poppy. It's got power pop, it's got mod, it's got soul, there's horns in there, there's a string quartet. So many great songs, very energetic and sometimes emotional, and really a fantastic release. Get Smart came out in 1983. In fact, I believe that the band are currently setting off on a tour to promote the 40th anniversary of this album. And it's just chock full of great songs. definitely worth your time. If you're going to track down anything here, track down a collection that I show you in just a few minutes, or track down Get Smart. Absolutely fantastic. It also features the single Every Trick in the Book of Love, which I think was released after the album came out, but really, really fantastic. Now, in 1984, the band went back in the studio and they released a mini album called September Girls. Now, what that consisted of was, I think, 3 cover versions. There was September Girls, which is a Big Star song, Boys Don't Lie, which is a song originally by Shoes, and one other cover, and then a couple Anthony Meynell originals. Now, that mini album, the songs have made it on compilations and stuff, but it didn't get a CD release. And I don't know, was it 2017, 18, somewhere around there? And there it is. It is September Girls by Anthony Meynell and Squire. And what this consists of is those 5 tracks from the original mini album, plus 5 newly recorded versions of songs I believe that Anthony had written around that same time. So this is kind of like what the Squire album would have sounded like if it was a complete album back in 1984. Or they could just be 5 great new songs. It is now a full album. Like I said, the first part is the original release, and the second part are all new songs. Really, really fantastic. Anthony Meynell and Squire, September Girls. This is actually the first time I ever heard the song September Girls. I mean, I wasn't really even familiar with the Big Star version. I heard this in 84, and I think it was 85 that the Bangles recorded it. So yeah, September Girls, I believe, came out in 1984. And that was it. Squire, I believe, split after that. Again, all the things I've been showing you were not released in the U.S. They're still not released in the U.S. It's all UK recordings. But now, remember, a few minutes ago, I told you that this is a great gateway album. You know, it should be the first album that you purchase by Squire. Well, it's either going to be that one, or it's going to be the album they released at the end of 1984. That was called the Singles Album. And this contains exactly what it says. It contains the Squire singles. So there's songs here that didn't make the album, you know, like Girl on a Train, No Time Tomorrow, things like that. And it's a great collection of songs, just jam-packed, full of wonderfulness, great guitar pop. Like I said, they're a mod band, but you can also call them power pop, because just great jangly guitars. And, you know, sometimes they're biting guitars, you know, great bass riffs, great melodies, great hooks. Squire, the Singles album. And that was it. Squire sort of disappeared. Now, one more thing before I continue here. Anthony Meynell had set up a label called High-Low Records, and they released a compilation called It's a Mod World. And this contains a couple tracks by Squire, but it also contains tracks by international mod bands from that period, so the early 80s. So that's a great little collection. If you love hook-laden guitar pop, like I said, it's darn close to power pop. Really, really an absolutely wonderful, wonderful compilation. Squire, great band. Now, you didn't really hear much from Anthony or any of the members of Squire until about 1995. So it was about another 11 years. And then he released a solo album, and that is called Passengers on Trains. And it's got a little bit of Squire in there. There is a little bit of a retro feel to the album, like Squire, because Squire was very rooted in the 60s. But he also has some more acoustic tracks on here, some songs that might be Brit poppy. You know, like I said, it doesn't sound exactly like Squire, but then again, it does, because it's the same songwriter and lead singer. So Anthony Meynell, Passengers on Trains. This was actually released, I believe, on CD in Japan only in 1995, but I think it was 2022, maybe even this year, came out on High-Low Records. So it is now available again. It's been remastered and full of great tracks. There's a wonderful track on this album. It's one of my favorite Anthony Meynell songs. It's called Solitude Surrounding. It's got this great guitar hook that goes through the song that might be played on a Rickenbacker 12-string, but maybe maybe it's 6-string. I don't know. I don't know anything about guitars. All I know is that I love good songs, and that is on this album. It's a wonderful, wonderful collection. Now, Anthony has also released a Live in Japan album but a lot of my viewers know how I feel about live albums. But, it is Anthony Meynell, so I eventually need to track that down. This is now readily available on CD. In fact, in the description box below, I'm going to put a link where you can buy this Squire stuff. It's truly incredible. There's even some 7-inch vinyl available. And I don't know if there's any vinyl LPs, but you can check that out, once you click that link after watching this video. Now, in 1997, Anthony released an EP under the band name Sugarplum. And there was an EP that came out called Crazy Feeling. Great thing about this is it has like 3 new songs, but it also has Solitude Surrounding on it, which is the great song that I love off of the Passengers on Trains album. It's the same exact recording, but he put it on here because it blends in with, the direction he was going, which is more of a, I don't want to say Britpop, but kind of, And then Blue Summer Days was the Sugarplum album, which contained, more new songs. None of the songs that were on the EP that I just showed you. And Blue Summer Days, that came out in 1998. Now, Jon Bicknell from the band had gone out, and he eventually formed a band called Drums and Wires UK. Now, Drums and Wires UK, the first thing they put out was, I guess you can call it a mini album called Ups, Downs, and Merry-Go-Rounds. And this was later reissued with more tracks on it, but I could not find that copy. I know that I've got it, but at least I wanted to show you something. And that's John, very similar to Squire, maybe a little bit more psychedelic, but still it's got that, British guitar pop feel to it. Now, this band, by the way, features Jon Bicknell on bass and vocals, Ray Lawrence on drums, who now plays drums for Squire, because Squire has been playing around live for the last couple of years, and it features Anthony Meynell, Jon Bicknell, and Kevin Meynell did not come back, but they got Ray Lawrence on drums, and he's been playing with them. So he's on this as well as a guitar player by the name of Les Black. And then finally, there's a band called Sfumato Effect. And Sfumato Effect features Jon Bicknell, Tony Ross, and Stuart Glanville. And they have a mini album or EP, whatever you want to call it. And that's more indie guitar pop there. So that is all that I have here. I might be missing something. Let me know in the comments below. But before you go, I put together this pretty lengthy medley that you get to hear how the band evolved from their punky Get Ready to Go up through Get Smart and September Girls. And then after all this great Squire music, you even get to hear a track from Anthony's solo album. You get to hear a track from Sugarplum, Drums and Wires UK, and Sfumato Effect. So sit back, relax, give this a listen, and I will see you on the other side.
Get ready to go. I told you so. I wanted to know. Get ready to go. I told you so. I want you to know. Get ready. My heart's in love with you, baby, but my head tells me, maybe, baby, I should let go. My heart's in love with you, baby, but my head tells me, maybe, baby, I should let go. Baby, my baby, love. Stay together. We're gonna live forever. I'm gonna take you to the cinema. I tell you what, I'm the face of today. I can be anyone I wanna be. That's what I say. I'm the face of you today. Did I say I know a girl that I don't wanna know? She's in a world where I don't want to go anymore. Shall I tell you something? I don't know you when I see you. My mind goes round in circles. When I like to know you, get on the train. Your mom and dad, choo, choo, choo. ocean, and I go gaze upon the walking hills below me, stand alone with solitude surrounding. Summer fade and fickle smile, Billy scream and idiot laugh, thunderstorm the maple dance, drink from the milk of the coconut sky. Summer fade and fickle smile, Union Jack and bunsing fly, thunderstorm the maple dance, drink from the milk of the coconut sky. I want to see the sun.
Girl from Devon, you take me to heaven. And when I'm there, I swear my life is complete. And I share happiness with a girl from Devon. You take me to heaven.
Anyway, that's it. I really appreciate your time. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, to ring that bell for future notifications. And remember me, I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie.